Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emily Freybler. I post videos on beauty, fashion, and lifestyle. And today we are talking all about foundation mixing. So I have a very hard time finding my shade at the drugstore, especially because I self-tan. So I'm usually really dark, and then I get to really fair, and then sometimes I'm in between. So I can never stick with the foundation shade unless I'm already immediately self-tanned. That makes sense? I know a lot of people have trouble finding their shade at the drugstore, so mixing, in my opinion, is a great idea. So I'm going to tell you my tips and tricks, and let's get started. Okay, so when it comes to finding a foundation that is your shade, make sure that you are going into the drugstore, and I mean, you kind of know your shade already, but if you have absolutely no idea, I would highly recommend going to Ulta or something like that and maybe asking one of the people that works there to help you at least find a shade match that is pretty close. Another thing you could do is go into Ulta, get shade matched for something in the high-end side because they have testers, or you could test on yourself. Grab one of those foundations in that shade and then compare it to the bottles of, the drugstore foundations since they don't have testers. So that's just kind of like a tip thing for you guys for foundation at the drugstore. So if you are someone who self-tans, I highly recommend mixing foundations. One thing I like to do is get something that is my shade when I am self-tanned, and then something that is my shade when I am not self-tanned, and then you can easily mix those whenever you just kind of need to. Another thing that mixing foundations is great for is finding different finishes of different foundations. So let's say you have a foundation that is really matte on the skin. This is the Collab Beauty Meet Your Matte foundation. It's decently matte on the skin. So you want to kind of liven that up and make it not as matte. I would reach for something like this Healthy foundation and just mix these two. These are actually the light shades of this, but I do have a dark shade of this one. And then mix them to get a better finish. I really, really love mixing foundations for finish purposes. Like the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage is one of my favorite foundations to mix because it's always too pink for me. Their shade range sucks when it comes to how pink it is, but it is gorgeous when mixed with something with more of a yellow undertone because this has such high pigment, but it is very skin-like. It's very fluidy, thin texture. So I like to mix it with something like this Milani foundation, which is more thick and has more of a yellow undertone. So it's all about balance for this whole thing. I also like to take everything in natural daylight. I'm going to show you it under my studio lights because I'm here. I didn't want to bring all the foundations out into the daylight, but I would highly recommend doing your foundation in daylight. This is going to make sure that you don't step outside and you're like, oh, my foundation doesn't match my neck, because that happens to me all the time. Trust me. And it's the worst. No one likes it. It's the worst. So make sure you're doing your foundation in natural daylight for the best results. Bathrooms are honestly the worst place to do your foundation, in my opinion. My bathroom right now, I can go in there with really pink foundation and be like, this looks amazing, and it doesn't match me at all. So my main tip for you guys is to make sure you are checking the shade against your skin all the time. Don't just eyeball it. Make sure you are swatching it once you've made the mixture that you think you have, and then you also let it dry, because foundations sometimes dry darker than they do, than they look, A lot of them do actually dry darker than when they first go on the skin. Once you know kind of what foundations you like and what foundations work really good for your skin, and then you can kind of select two foundations, like I said, from either end. If you want to be like, oh, I'm going to use the Maybelline Fit Me, get one that is your darkest shade and one that is your lightest shade, and then in between there you can just kind of mix and make some concoctions really quickly and easily, and you will get better at eyeballing what shade you are. I promise. Just be honest with yourself. Don't tell yourself that you're tanner than you are. It's not worth it. Your foundation's going to be too dark, because I've done that so many times. So I'm going to show you guys my whole process of picking out foundations right now, and kind of how I go about selecting what I want to use. Okay, first things first, I go over to my drawers with my foundations. And oh my gosh, it's overflowing right now because I've been doing so many foundation reviews. But I go to my drawer of foundations, which is like this. And I pick out what I think my shade will kind of be similar to. So I pick out a light foundation, and then I pick out a shade that is kind of more similar. So like, I've mixed recently this shade, the 2, with the Physicians Formula. I really loved that combination just of finish and the shades, so that might be a good combination. I try and pick something that is very close to my shade. Maybe this one. This one is very light, the Collab Beauty one, but I've been liking matte foundation, so maybe I'll do this one and something a little bit darker. 125 Nude Beige. I just picked up this shade. So honestly, this might match me, but we'll see. I love using this to mix. So these are the foundations that I've chosen out of everything. So we have some more like yellow toned ones. This one's a little more pink, light, darker, all that jazz, so that we can mix as we please. I know not a lot of people have this many foundations, but I'm just showing you how to mix to get your right shade. So I showed you how I go through selecting things. Basically, I take my shade right now, and then I kind of just pick things out that I think would be kind of close to my shade, and also something a lot lighter, because I do have a lot more dark foundations than I do have light foundations, since I am tan most of the time. So if I want to lighten something, I usually reach for the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation, just because it's very light, but the coverage is amazing, but it is very pink. So then that's why I would grab something like this, which is the True Match from L'Oreal. It's more yellow undertone to kind of balance it out. So you want to think about undertone, but you also want to obviously think about shade, because that changes for me. And then if like I have something that's pretty close, which I think this one from Maybelline is, this is the Matte and Poreless in 125. And I think that's pretty close. So then I would just grab something that's a lighter shade, like the Collab Beauty one. So I'm going to show you a few different concoctions, see how they work compared to my neck, stuff like that. And then I'm going to pick a final one for actually mixing and everything like that. Okay, so I just put all 6 foundations on my neck area to show you guys the different shades and how I go about like choosing which ones to mix and things like that. So the first one is the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation. Then we have the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1, the Maybelline Fit Me in 125 Nude Beige, the Maybelline Fit Me in 128 Warm Nude. 128 Warm Nude is right here. Then we have the Collab Meet Your Matte Foundation right here. And then the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage. Then we have the L'Oreal True Match in W4. So what I'm seeing right off the bat is that the Catrice one is maybe even a little bit too dark for me. So this combination is not gonna work. So we're gonna scratch those 2 foundations right away. And then I'm looking at this Healthy Foundation from Physicians Formula. Could work for me, but might be a little bit too pink. And then, you know, the combination with the Milani one, I would just only need a little bit of the Milani one. Then this Collab Beauty one, this is like in a very awkward spot, is definitely very, very close for me, but it might need a little bit of darkening just to kind of match my body. So this one would be very, very good, which is the L'Oreal or the Maybelline Fit Me in 128. So I think I'm going to do this combination with 128 and the Collab one, and then do these 2 right here, the Physicians Formula and the Milani one. So that's how I kind of go about, you know, finding my perfect match. Ideally, you should do this in natural lighting, but I'm under studio lighting right now. So now I'm gonna mix the 2 foundations and then swatch them on my face to make sure I got the perfect match. Mix the foundations, I always use a glass palette thing like this. This is literally a candle holder from like Meyer or something, which a lot of people don't have Meyer. From like, you could get this at Walmart or something like that. So I basically start by taking majority amount of the light color And then I'm seriously going to do like half a pump, maybe 3/4 of a pump of the Milani one. And then I might put a little bit more of the Physicians Formula. It's just all about eyeballing it because, I mean, you're basically like a scientist when you're doing this. So that is the shade that I came up with. It's a pretty spot-on match. And then I'm going to do the Collab Beauty and the Maybelline one. Again, probably putting mostly Collab Beauty and then a little bit of Maybelline. So something that you have to pour out is going to be more like harder to control for sure. So just be very, very careful when you're mixing. Now looking at this after it's starting to dry, it might be a little bit too dark for me. I think this combination is even better of a match. So I think for the final foundation, I'm going to use the Collab Beauty and the Maybelline Fit Me. It's all about trial and error and just making sure you kind of have the right undertones for your skin tone and also like mixing the appropriate amount of light and dark. Look how spot on that matches. Like, this is such a good combination. And then while I'm applying, I just make sure to use kind of a small amount of foundation because, well, one, we don't want to get cake face. And two, you only have as much as you mixed. So, I mean, it's kind of wasteful, but you might want to mix a little bit more foundation because then it will guarantee basically that you're gonna have enough. All right, you guys, I have my foundation on right now. This is the shade match. I think it looks phenomenal, and I hope this helped you guys trying to navigate the whole foundation world. I know it can be really overwhelming with the different formulas and the different shades, but I hope this helps you guys at least find something that matches your skin tone. Obviously, mixing foundations is not the cheapest option, but it is the best way to get the most accurate color, in my opinion, because you can really customize the undertone and the shade for you. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel down below. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a video very, very soon. Bye!